Hello everyone, my name is Reggina Onggatta and my registration number is 2705079. I am from Universitas of Sumatera Utara, majoring in English literature. Today, I would like to explain about language typology in sociolinguistics. In linguistics, typology refers to the classification of the words' languages according to the similarities and differences in their linguistic structures and genetic relationships. Therefore, language typology is the study of the structural similarities and differences among the words' languages. It aims to identify and classify the various features of language, such as its sound system, the word order patterns, and the grammatical structures. Language typology is interested in understanding the ways in which languages are similar and different, and what underlying principles and constraints govern these similarities and differences. The study of language typology can provide insight into the evolution and development of languages, as well as it helps to identify the universal principle that underline all humans' language. The feature classification of language typology is a framework for categorizing the structural features of languages based on their form and function. It was developed by the linguists, typologists, and is widely used to compare and classify languages. The framework includes the following categories, which are: first, phonological features; second, morphological features; third, syntactic features; and fourth, semantic features; and last but not least is pragmatic features. Johannes Schmidt's language typology. Johannes Schmidt was a German linguist who made significant contributions to the field of language typology. He was particularly interested in the relationship between language and culture, and his work focused on identifying and classifying the various typological features of languages from around the world. Schmidt developed a typology of language structure based on a number of criteria, including the way in which sounds are used to form words, the way in which words are put together to form phrases and sentences, and the way in which words are inflected to indicate tense, aspect, and grammatical features. One of the Schmidt's key contributions to language typology was his wave model of genetic relationships, proposes an alternative to the traditional tree model of language family trees. In this model, the boundaries between the descendants of a proto-language are constantly shifting due to the linguistic innovation spreading like waves. The model suggests that languages are not isolated and do not develop in a linear fashion, but rather that they interact and influence each other in a continuous manner. Schmidt developed this wave model of genetic relationship because he believed that the tree model did not fully explain the existence of certain linguistic features, especially in the Germanic languages. One example of Schmidt's wave model in action is the evolution of High German consonant shift. The High German consonant shift is a series of changes that occur in the consonant sounds of the High German dialects of Middle High German and Early New High German, which eventually led to the development of modern Standard German. The shift affected the pronunciation of certain consonants, including the sound represented by the letters P, T, and K, which became the sound represented the letters PF, TZ, and CH respectively. Schmidt's wave model suggests that this change did not occur uniformly across all the Germanic dialects at once, but instead spread like a wave across the region. As speakers in different areas adopted the new consonant sounds, they created a stepped line out of the smooth, sloping line of the original dialect continuum. Over time, some steps became weaker and fell out of reuse, while others became dominant and spread throughout a larger area. This led to the eventual dominance of the High German dialects, which had undergone the consonant shift, and the displacement of other dialects in many areas. Overall, Schmidt's work on language typology was influential in shaping our understanding of the relationships between language, structure, culture, and cognition. His ideas continue to inform contemporary research in the field of linguistics. Wilhelm von Humboldt's language typology. Wilhelm von Humboldt was a German philosopher, linguist, and diplomat who made significant contributions to the study of language typology. His approach to language typology was based on the idea that language is a creative and dynamic system that reflects the inner workings of the human mind. Humboldt proposed that every language is a unique system of thought shaped by culture and worldview of the people who speak it. He believed that the structure and function of a language and intimately connected to the way with its speaker think and perceive the world around them. One of the Humboldt's most influential contributions to language typology was the concept of linguistic relativity, also known as the Sapir-Whorf evolved hypothesis. This theory suggests that the structure and vocabulary of a language shape the way that its speaker perceive and conceptualize the word. According to this theory, language not only reflects thoughts but also has the power to shape and influence it. The four main categories of Wilhelm von Humboldt's language typology. First is syntactic versus analytic language. Syntactic languages use inflectional morphemes to express grammatical relationship, while analytic languages use separate words or word order. For example, in syntactic language in Latin, the verb amo changes its form to amoba to indicate past tense. Here, the morpheme ba is added to amo to convey the past tense, making amoba. Analytic language in English. In English, we use the auxiliary verb do to create the negative and interrogative forms of a verb. For example, I love become I do not love in negative form, or do I love in interrogative form. Second, agglutinative versus incorporative language. Agglutinative languages build words by adding morphemes together, while incorporative language absorb one word into another to create a new word with fused meaning. For example, in agglutinative language in Turkish, the word evlerimizde means in our houses. This is made up of the root word if, house. The possessive suffix lerimiz or our and the locative suffix de means in. And then, incorporative language in Moha language. In Moha language, the word ongwe means indigenous person. This is made out of the root word ongwe, man, and the suffix honwe means indigenous. 3. Isolating languages. Isolating languages use few inflections and often rely on word order or particles to express grammatical meaning. For example, in Mandarin Chinese, there are no inflections for tense or aspect. Instead, the word order is used to indicate the time frame of an action. For example, I eat rice can be translated as 我吃饭, while I ate rice can be translated also 我吃了饭. 4. Polysyntactic language. Polysyntactic languages allow for multiple morphemes to be combined together into a single word to express complex meanings. For example, in Inuktitut language, the word susasiarunang itualujunga means I cannot hear very well. This word is made up of following morphemes such as tusasiak means to hear, runak a little, ngit not, tualu very much, and junga means I am able to. These four categories provide a useful framework for understanding the different ways in which languages convey meaning through their grammatical structures. William Alexander Stewart's language typology. William Alexander Stewart was a linguist who proposed his language typology in the early 20th century. Stewart was born in 1878 in Scotland and studied linguistics at the University of Edinburgh. He went on to become a professor of Celtic languages at the University of Edinburgh too, where he made significant contributions to the field of Celtic languages. Stewart's interest in language typology was influenced by the work of linguists such as Franz Boas and Edward Sapir, who were developing similar classification systems for languages. Stewart's typology focused on the way language express grammatical relationship with a particular emphasis on the use of the inflectional morphemes. Stewart's typology was published in the book The Foundation of Linguistic Science in 1958, several years after his death. Stewart language typology is a classification system for languages based on their grammatical structures. It distinguishes between two main types of languages. First, inflectional languages use inflectional morphemes, which are affixes added to the stem of the words to indicate grammatical relationship between the words. These morphemes modify the meanings of words and indicate their grammatical function. For example, in Russian language, the grammatical relationship between words are expressed through the use of the inflectional morphemes, which modify the meanings of words and indicate their grammatical function. For example, the noun dom means house can be inflected to doma, means of the house, or domo means to the house, depending on the context. Similarly, the verb pisat means to write can be inflected to pisu means I write, or pises means you write, or pisat means he, she, it writes, depending on the tense and person. Second, analytic languages. Analytic languages, on the other hand, rely on word order and function words, such as preposition and conjunction to indicate grammatical relationship between words. Analytic languages do not use inflectional morphemes to the same extent as inflectional languages. For example, in Mandarin, on the other hand, grammatical relationships are primarily indicated through word order and the use of function words. For example, the sentence was 喜欢吃饭 means I like to eat. In English, in the sentence, the subject 我 comes first, followed by the verb 喜欢, which is then followed by the object 吃饭. There are no inflectional morphemes used in Chinese to express tense, person, and number. Stewart's typology is useful for understanding the different ways in which languages convey meaning through their grammar and can provide insight into the historical and cultural context of different language groups. It also emphasizes the importance of studying languages in their own right and not just as translations of each other. The similarities among these three language typologies are 1. Classification based on structural features. All these three language typology classify languages based on their structural features including their sound system, grammatical structure, and word formation. 2. Comparative approach. Each typology takes a comparative approach, examining how language differ from one another and identifying commonalities and differences one another. 3. Historical perspective. All these three language typologies recognize the historical context in which languages has evolved and changed over time, and the influence of contact and borrowing between languages. 4. Importance of linguistic diversity. Each typology emphasizes the importance of linguistic diversity and the unique properties of individual languages, rejecting any attempt to rank languages as superior or inferior to others. Overall, the similarities among these three language typology suggest a shared commitment to understand the richness and diversity of human language and the importance of rigorous comparative analysis in advancing our knowledge of language and its role in human communicative and culture. The differences among these three language typologies are, firstly, Schmidt's typology focuses primarily on the sound systems of languages, whereas Humboldt's typology emphasizes the importance of grammar and syntactic structure, and then Stewart's typology is more comprehensive, incorporating phonological, morphological, and syntactic features. Secondly, Schmidt's typology is based on a linear model of sound system which focuses on the sequential ordering of sounds in words and sentences. Humboldt's typology, on the other hand, recognizes the importance of grammatical relationships between words and identify languages as being either syntactic and analytic. Stewart's typology is more holistic, recognizing the language structure is the result of multiple interrelated factors. Thirdly, Schmidt's typology is focused primarily on the classification of languages into groups, whereas Humboldt's typology emphasizes the unique features of each language. Stewart's typology also recognizes the uniqueness of individual languages but also provides a systematic way to compare and contrast them based on broader set of linguistic features. Finally, fourth, these typology were developed in different historical periods and contexts, which may have influenced their perspective and priorities. Schmidt's typology was developed in the early 20th century when linguistic structuralism was influential. Humboldt's typology was developed in the late 18th and early 19th centuries during a time of renewed interest in comparative linguistics. Stewart's typology, however, was developed in the mid-20th century during a period of increased attention to the linguistic diversity and the role of the language in culture and society. Overall, while these three language typologies share some similarities, they also differ in their approaches and priorities, reflecting different historical and theoretical contexts. There is a great diversity of languages in the world, and that each language has its own unique characteristic that distinguish it from others. Language typology provides a way to classify and compare language based on their grammatical structure and other features such as phonology, vocabulary, and syntax. By studying language typology, linguists can gain insights into the unique properties of different languages as well as the ways in which they have evolved and influenced one another over time. They can also gain deeper understanding of the historical and cultural context in which different languages have evolved and how they have influenced one another. Last but not least, language typology helps to highlight the richness and complexity of human language and the important role that it plays in shaping our understanding of the world among us. I think that is all for my presentation. Thank you for watching. See you!